What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, and we are getting ready for our live session here together. Hope everyone is doing well. Really excited to be getting back into the swing of things. Yesterday was a fantastic session. If you're just joining us on the replay, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And what else is there to say? Let's get to it. So, before we get into our analysis, I want to start off with something. Actually, I'll wait until we get a few more people in here. It's really important, something that I want to go over with you today, something that is going to save you a lot of money one day in the future regarding what happened overnight on oil and gold. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's start off with the DXY. By the way, this morning we had some numbers out of the US. We had the ADP, non-farm employment change. It was a nice size beat that should be continue to be supportive of the US dollar today. What else is going on? You see that President Trump is speaking sometime today. So what happened overnight? Obviously, Iran sent out some type of showish retaliation. Purposely, it seems like sending out some missiles that were not going to hit anyone. And this was a way for them, it looks like, it appears to be perhaps just to save face in front of their people and not escalate the war any further. A lot of people saw gold spiking last night, so oil spiking last night, and they went ahead and they probably bought oil around 66, around 65. We were saying yesterday in our live session, the only play in oil is to wait to see if it comes back toward this trend line. We'll take a look at that later today and see if this is a good place to lean in to buy right now. And then similarly on oil, we had this huge spike up here on gold, right? And now it came back down below that resistance of I think 1590 and 1600, where the levels traders were watching. We'll continue to take a look here as well in a little bit. Mima, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Let's start this with the DXY. I want to take a look at the DXY together. And we noticed here that, all right, so right now we're leaning into this resistance level that we looked at yesterday, and we're waiting for price to take a look at. I'm not, I have a feeling, it's just my own gut feeling, that we're going to be taking a look at this resistance level over here, as well as, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar broke out of this. I won't be surprised. Most traders seem to be leaning the other way. We'll see what happens, but we're at an important resistance level. We need to watch what happens this morning. For the next 25 minutes into the New York Open, I always expect a small retrace on prices around this time. I think that's what's happening right now. What I'm looking for to see and watching is whether or not in the first half hour, 45 minutes of trading, once the US equities open up, whether or not the dollar is able to start making new highs or not. That will affect what happens with have open euro US dollar positions here, and that will affect what happens, because right now price is trading down at a support level, right? We're in the trade from up here on the resistance, and now we're trading at the support, and now's the credit. See, this is where the entry was, right down around here when price was rejected, and we've been holding this. And what happens now, decision comes into place. Do you take some profits? Do you take profits off? Or do you hold this trade and look for down here? That's really going to be depending on what happens during this session, right? If we get a clean break during the session, we're holding this trade, and this becomes pretty much a triple, a really nice trade. But right now it's been a fantastic trade. If we see that price is rejected here at this support level, we'll then look to take profits. We'll see what happens during this session, and that's something that if things changed, I would update later in the afternoon using the Telegram group. We do have the new let's be good morning. How you doing? Good afternoon, good evening. It was brought to my attention yesterday that when we first started out here, and we're very new, we're only been doing this a couple of months, that we used to thank people sharing the love, go ahead and hitting the like button and helping this video get seen by other traders that will benefit them. It's something I stopped doing, and I appreciate reaching out to me and letting me know that's something that we should be doing more often, because it's really important. You know, it's really important that people are able to have the opportunity to show their appreciation. Obviously, people, when they're watching the video and they're focused in on the charts, that's not what they're thinking, even if that's what their intention is. Again, we just started yesterday the free Telegram group. Later in the afternoon, if there's any updates on any open trades or new ones from our actives list, that's what will be included. Uh, Let me go ahead and just, oops, I don't want that. All right. So we're watching what happens right here, right now, as we're at this support level. And we also have an open trade here on the Euro Japanese yen. And this trade here, although it spiked down here on the risk off news last night, once it seemed that there were no casualties and there would be no further escalations, it quickly traded all the way back up. And what's happening now? Well, not sure. We have the entry over there up here, so we have, a comfortable trade locked in. It's too soon to tell really what to do. I'm uncertain what I want to do with my trade. If trades don't continue falling in my favor, I tend to get out of them. Am I comfortable taking, some small profits here? Yes, but I want to see what happens a little further. If we start making new highs here again above 121, I'll take those 15 pips, and I'll definitely lock in that profit on that trade. But as of right now, we have a little bit of wicks over here on the last two 8-hour bars. Just give it a little bit of room and see what happens. It looks like things are, I mean, maybe the market's waiting to what happens with President Trump to decide whether we're really risk on or risk off. We'll have to see. Yeah, so Blair, yes and no. So I entered that trade into three pieces of three different size. And so my first order, I did take profit. And my first order was the middle size of all three of those trades together. Okay. My biggest position and my smallest position are still open on that trade. But when I'm giving this analyst here together, I'm breaking it down, keeping it simple. I'm not getting into the intricacies of my position sizes and how I manage that. Um, so yes, definitely. Now when price was over here, this was during before Asia opened. Liquidity was thin, and why it made sense for me in general to say that you should hold your position here was because if there were any casualties, which was unknown at that point, the market would have really sold off hard. If there were any casualties right here, right on the U.S. side, as those missiles hit military bases, if any servicemen were killed in that attack, there's no question that the US would have retaliated and retaliated hard. And we could have seen, risk off in a huge way. And we're talking a significant move down. So, as far as the right thing to do and where the risk is, it makes more sense holding that position under those circumstances, because you're yeah, you're saying, oh, this was 85 pips. That's a huge trade. That's a big trade. That's a good trade. But you had a couple of few hundred pips, possibly more, to the downside if all of a sudden that ignited a huge retaliation from the U.S., which could have escalated into full blown conflict. All right, good question. Euro US dollar, we're holding those, we're in comfortable trade here. And we're down trading near support. the news this morning was supportive of the US. And we're looking for to see what price does this morning. We're waiting for the US equity market open in about another 20 minutes to see if during the, specifically if during the first 45 minutes, if we get a push down past this support to new lows over here or not. We're gonna wait and see how price reacts around here. I don't expect, because that price all of a sudden is going to shoot up. So I want to see if we consolidate a little bit, maybe push down to new lows, because if that doesn't happen, it looks like down here will be a nice place to take profits. If we see price start resuming upwards, okay, then we'll take profits off. But right now, there's every reason to be holding this trade a little while longer and seeing what develops further. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Is an excellent question, and always question me. And first of all, that's how everyone, not just the person asking the question, not just myself. That's how everyone listening involved also learns, and that's what it's all about. And oh boy. So what's happening here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen? This could be actually very nice opportunity developing here. Why? I mean, okay, so just to plan it out in my head, in our heads, it's it's kind of important, President Trump speaking today, what he says, because he is a wild card, and why it appears across the board that this was a way out of further escalation. If by any chance, the president decides he's escalating the situation, and the attack on the U.S. military bases last night, even though they seem calculated as to cause no casualties, if he believes that the U.S. needs to retaliate, we're going to see huge risk off, right? And if he says, okay, nothing happened and there's de-escalation here, we could see risk on again, right? And if that happens, and if we get above this resistance here, this is now resistance. Above this resistance here, we look a little safer again, right? We have successfully tested this support level and this support level, right? They looked like they were breaking last night. And again, if we went heavily risk off, they would break and we would see probably much further levels. But right now they're holding. Both these important levels are holding. And if we get above this resistance here, it looks like it's time to get back long Australian dollar, Japanese yen, especially after that successful test. So this is gonna continue to stay top of the watch list. This pair is in play. Not yet. I'm not looking to trade anything yet. I'm only looking if we get above this resistance here, and then, as you all know, I'll look for a successful test of support, and then look to see if it's possible to get long. Leonard, is he speaking now? I do check Forex Live for stuff like that, and if Forex Live doesn't have anything, I go to the news section of Forex Factory. Here we go, 11 a.m. Great questions, guys. It's exactly what we just said. The market is anticipating that Trump will essentially scale down tensions. However, it's quite possible he will not. All right, so we're on top of it. We'll be looking out for that. That's about an hour and 45 minutes. And definitely we'll stay on the live stream through that event. That's a big event this morning. Would you pound Japanese yen? The support is held again overnight. This looks like it's getting to be quite positive. Again, this is a really important day and a good day, because if we get this de-escalation today, that really sets the tone, I think, for some risk on. I think then there's a good chance that China does go ahead and sign this, fake phase one deal. Um, and so this player is definitely in play now. I've always, for a long time now, I've been uncertain about what's going on here, very unsure. I look at this. Look at this long. This was that long base of 3 weeks, right? This was heavy resistance, and now has become pretty solid support over here. And then I like that this is. I don't call this a head and shoulders, but you can see the left shoulder, the head, and now a right shoulder, possibly, right? Um, put a trend line in there anyway, I think. Let's keep that in there. We get above this resistance here, and I do like what's setting up here on the pound Japanese yen. I like it. Um, Looks good to me. So DJ, the question is do I think that the U.S. Employment numbers are counteracting the geopolitical events? So as far as what it looks like, as far as the geopolitical events, it looks like what Iran did was a calculated response. They did send, I think it was 15 missiles at U.S. bases, but they did it so that there would be no casualties on purpose, it seems, so that their people would understand that they didn't back down to the United States after their military commander was assassinated, that they did send off a response, but such that the US would understand that they did this on purpose, not to cause any casualties, so that the US would then not retaliate back further. That's what it looks like is shaping up. That is why you've seen oil come off significantly, and that is why you've seen gold also come off significantly. Um, we have Trump later today to come out and give the definitive answer on what he believes is the appropriate response now of the U.S. So that's the wild card out of the markets. Once that's out of the way, we'll have a lot more clarity. No, I'm not looking to short the pound Japanese yen. If anything, if we get below, this is strong. Look at this is strong support. Look at this resistance over here in this area. Really strong resistance. It broke and has since has been strong support. So this is strong support. So I'm not looking to short this over here into strong support. Is there a decent risk reward from here? Yeah. If you're a short-term, really short-term minded player, possibly. If all of a sudden Trump comes out, but the move would be really quick. I would never trade it. The removal, if Trump came out and said we're escalating, or was very, very strong toned, and the market was uncertain, this move would be really quick. You wouldn't have time to trade it to the downside. If things are looking good and there's de-escalation, and I'm interested in seeing if, in the future, not right now at all, but if in the future, meaning, the next 24 hours, a setup occurs here on the pound Japanese yen to get long. Not yet. 24, 36 hours. The euro Australian dollar also looks interesting. I feel like I missed this. You could see that we came back up into this resistance. We were watching and waiting for this resistance. If we blew past this resistance here, we were hoping we could get to this one. Price came hit into this resistance and came off sharply. This again was because of the news last night. Once they found out there was no casualties, that was beneficial to the Australian dollar. So the only way that I do like this again, if we're able to make a higher high here, and get another test up towards here, and then make another lower low, I'm still interested in this trade. Oftentimes, markets don't go like this, where you come up and straight down. We're down here, straight down and straight up. oftentimes they're more zigzagged. And normally it's not the first breakdown that is the best. It's normally the second or the third, right? So I'm not going to chase this all the way down here because look, if you take the entry down here, the risk to reward is terrible. Here's the support, here's the resistance, right? That's terrible. You can't take that. If we get an opportunity closer to here with a better risk to reward, then it's possible. Let's keep it going and keep those questions coming. You guys are on fire today. And again, this is what is so beneficial of working together. As well as anyone, if Trump does start speaking ahead of what we expect is going to happen, let's work together on that. Again, and I thank you, those showing their appreciation for the live stream. I believe what we got going on here is the best, the best thing that anyone could find going on, and I'm grateful to be a part of it with you guys. Let's keep going down the list. There's Australian dollar, US dollar is also, so we need to look at the DXY again before anything else. And so we have about 10 minutes to the market opening. I'm expecting that upon the market opening, we're going to get another look up here towards the highs and possibly break out to new highs. That might not happen though until after Trump speaks, right? And so long as there is a de-escalation. So I think we're gonna get I think we're gonna wind up breaking above this resistance. Normally and almost always, you always hear me saying when there's resistance or support, I expect they're gonna hold until they don't. Well, this is not the strongest resistance line. It's just kind of a little bit of a guide, right? And I that's my gut, right? And so that's what I'm watching to happen. Of course, if I start seeing on the 8-hour a rejection here with price making lower lows, then I know at that point will prices show me differently, and of course then that changes everything. So how does that affect the Australian dollar, US dollar? Well, we're at this little support over here too. You could see this resistance. Is it so much? Is it a big one? Here's my mouse. You look at the horizontal line. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. And you could see price right now respecting it. If we go, and again, we're also just like the Australian dollar, Japanese yen we looked at, we're above the breakout over here. We're testing down near support. We have this even better zone over here. And if the DXY is able to get up here and successfully hold this resistance line, that would mean the Australian dollar US dollar is probably going to be down over here in this pocket. That's going to be a really good opportunity to look for. It might not happen though, right? Maybe this holds today. If that does, is that a trade to take? Not for me, right? Look at it could be a really good trade. It could be a really good trade and wind up working out really well. But for me, it's not a trade I would take. I'm not going to take it. It's almost as if as soon as I take it, I would be towards this decent resistance, and it's just not. I'm just not about it. So far, the most attractive thing to me is what's developing here on the pound Japanese yen. Academic editors, welcome. Appreciate that. Glad you're here with us. So that's going to stay green. It's a good setup. I'm not interested in it. US dollar, Japanese yen. Okay, we continue to be, this should be support now, huh? All right. This is a little jumpy, guys. We're up towards All right, so the next thing I'm looking here for the US dollar, Japanese yen. Let me step back. I know what I see, and I'm going to show it to you right now, and I'm going to unravel that for you. But first, let's get a look at the daily time frame, and we see that we've breaking down out of this rising wedge, broke a few levels of support, finally stabilized, and now we're coming back up and towards this resistance over here. What does this mean next? All right, this is a pretty, actually, you could see over here too, we made lower lows. You can see we made lower lows than this area over here, and then spiked up about it. So you got a lot of traders on the wrong side of this trade right now. All right. I would be interested right now to see the MyFX book positioning of retail. So I think that's community outlook. Pull that out. We're going to look at that in a second. But what I see here happening is that if we're able to get above this resistance here, up here, okay, then I'm going to be looking to go long the US dollar, Japanese yen. If we get above this, we get above, tested as support, then I like it. This trade becomes really nice. It's not happening yet. Is it possible we get rejected off of this resistance line? It's possible. It doesn't appear to be shaping up like that's going to happen right now, unless Trump comes out and escalates here. At that point, this will be a fantastic opportunity to go short. All right. So this will definitely, I definitely would be looking to US dollar, Japanese yen after we find out what Trump said. Thanks, Blair. That's really good. Being that most of retail then is on the wrong side of that trade, as we just suggested. If we get above here, we got some fuel. I guarantee if we start getting above, more retail will be getting short, right? They'll be adding to their positions. They'll be taking the wrong side of the trade. This could wind up being a good trade. That doesn't mean you take it here right now, because we might never get here. We might never get above this resistance. I'm not going to take the breakout anyway. I always look down for the retest of that breakout level to make sure the broken resistance held the support. It's developing, and we'll see. We'll keep watching it. That's a good one. We'll take a look at gold right now. Yeah. Jamshad, vacations were great. You know what? I've noticed this morning before we got online together, I was just taking a look at the markets and just realizing what a great break that was, because I've come back so refreshed and just enjoying getting back involved with the markets so much. And I'm really grateful for that break. And often we don't want to take breaks from the markets, but what a good thing to do. What a good thing to do. So gold is tough one. It's very tough. I mean, you don't want to be buying that, obviously. That looks very dangerous. I know last night, a lot of traders around 1600, when during the height of the news event, probably were buying up here, and now they're paying the price. Don't ever buy on geopolitical news events after the fact. Always before. All right. Because they're emotional. And look what, you see the same spike on oil. Is this a good place to lean into oil over here? Maybe. If this holds and you start making higher highs, maybe. But we also, that's pretty scary, that type of price action. So on gold here, if you're looking at gold and you're wondering, what's going on here, the Fed is monetizing the U.S. deficits. Listen, everyone should own physical gold, period. It's an insurance policy. You could buy, gold coins, 1 ounce gold coins. You should own physical gold, I believe. In this day and age, it's almost irresponsible not to. But as far as trading gold right now, listen, down here was the place to be buying gold. This was during vacation. I know as far as trading, I never would have made it in here. I don't play the breakout like that, and I never would have got an entry. I'll show you on the 8-hour. It was just a clean breakup, right? Over here on this retest, maybe. Maybe I might have gotten in over here. This is break of the resistance, come back down, tested a support. So probably, right? There's a good chance over here we would have got involved. All right. As far as now, no, there's no opportunity. You have to wait. I believe a lot of people are selling gold up here. I know a lot of traders were looking before this happened last night. 1590 and 1600 were the levels I saw that traders were looking to lean into to sell. Those are very short time minded traders, I believe, because to be taking a position against gold, I don't see that. Um, I just don't see it. We're looking for where there's clear opportunity, and I don't see that on gold yet. The next thing we'll look at is if gold comes down and tests this trend line over here. That might be the first possible place to get in. And of course, if you got as low as 1518, that would be obviously better. Right now, I just don't see it. Stand aside. Chris, if you have a chart of those monthly resistance lines and you could share that, please send me a private message. That would be awesome for through TradingView. That would be awesome for us all to take a look at. Um, Mark Dice, what's going on? Glad you guys are here. Could if Trump, yeah, gold could go down to 1540 easily. If you have that trend line here, and you also have some resistance right over there, a little bit higher. Where's 1540? I think we could get a look down towards 1550. Maybe lower or maybe much lower if things de-escalate here. Gold's weird, right? In the fact that even with the strong dollar, gold's been moving up. So gold is once again, just acting on its own. But absolutely, gold has gone too far too fast. Is this a blow off top for the intermediate term? It could be, right? It could be. Um, it's just unclear. And when things are unclear, we can't trade them. And let's just give this a little bit of breathing room until it gets a little bit clear, right? Um, Similar to the pound Japanese yen, there was a period in here where it was just unclear. Today's the first day that it's beginning to look a little bit clearer, right? And now we're looking to get involved if possible, sometime soon. And here, look, this is not gold. It's different than gold, but let's pretend this was that big spike up on gold, right? And a lot of people, it has to move down and then stabilizes, and then the next direction opens up, whether it's up or down. But right now, it's jumpy, so let's stay away. New Zealand dollar and Japanese yen looks like it's stabilizing here as well. So it looks like what's going to happen here. It looks like that and this is assuming things go according to plan this afternoon as far as Trump is concerned. And by according to plan, meaning that things de-escalate from here. Um, and I think he will. And I think we'll get another look up at this trend line over here, right? And this will become very interesting. What happens if price does test this trend line over here, which kind of is putting in a double top around that time maybe. And then if it does, we'll take a look. As far as playing this to the upside right now, I don't think so. I prefer the pound Japanese yen as far as what I'm looking and seeing developing. But It looks like we're stabilizing, and it appears someone asked about what's going to happen as far as Trump and the Japanese yen. I think that we're going to see a weaker Japanese yen if things de-escalate from here. All right. Canadian dollar, and I'm leaving these green. Why is this green? We didn't even look at the Australian dollar, Swiss franc here. Let's take a look at it. I just want to know what's going on, not skip over it. So, all right, I'm just seeing a breakdown below the support and now coming back up above it. This could be actually also a really good buying opportunity coming up right now. A really good buying opportunity. Let's look at the 8-hour. Lots of opportunity everywhere. Again, we always talk about things come in waves. When sometimes there's no setups and then they all come in groups. When they come in the groups, you got to pick your areas and you got to pick your pair and you got to find out what looks the best. But this could be, of course you have this overhead resistance that comes into play pretty quickly, but I wouldn't be surprised if this support here holds after today, and then we start seeing some upside. It's kind of like a sideways range, but there's a big range here, and I have to say that while I'm not wild about it, I like it. I definitely do. After this big spike down over here, I'm also interested what is the story as far as retail is short, 5% are short, 95% are long. I would just stick. How many people are trading that? Decent size. Yeah, I don't like that ratio whatsoever. And if 95% of retail is long, I don't want. I'm not looking to get involved that in there then. So that was just a way of me filtering out, as far as a wave of setups coming in, one that I won't take. Right or wrong, that's what I'm doing. Mark, 4-hour on what? What pair are you looking at the 4-hour on? So I can get on the same page as you. Is the Australian dollar? We just looked at the Australian dollar, US dollar, and we just had a pretty good look at it. Is it a buy over here? Well, it could be. It could be. Of course, we were looking at the DXY, and we're saying if the DXY comes up into this resistance level over here, and that puts the US dollar down into this pocket, that looks like a very attractive place. That's why I have this box down here, blue box, to remind me when we get towards this support level and this support level down here. But you can see us trading at this light support right now today. And if we set a risk on mood later today because of the de-escalation, if President Trump goes that route, then this is a possible buy. I don't like the entry. The entry for me would be up here, and then the risk to reward is about 1-to-1. Is it a bad trade? No, it's not a bad trade. And you have to see what happens. Yep, we just looked at gold maybe 5 minutes ago in the live stream. Go ahead and just pull back your thing over here. Take a look back 5 minutes into this live stream. We just took a good look at gold. So we want to look at the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen next, and let's look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar before we look at the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. And this continues to push higher here, and this is good because we're looking for the US dollar, Canadian dollar to cool off. We're looking for it to reset. We're looking for it to come back up into any type of resistance. Again, planning for the future. If we get able to get a look up here at this resistance line and this holds, and that has the Canadian dollar closer to a resistance level that I could lean off of, I'm very interested in shorting the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar. But right now, not yet. I'm just still waiting for this to cool off after this waterfall move down, right? You can see this big move down. I'm just waiting for things to kind of reset a little bit. If we get towards this resistance level up here, I'm interested in seeing if things develop where we could short the US dollar, Canadian dollar. It looks like we're all on the same page. We just got to the US dollar, Canadian dollar. A couple of you wanted to take a look at it. You know, that's what I see. It's more of a dollar story for me right now, guys. It's more of a dollar story. And we're seeing the dollar from up. Things look like that trend is going to continue through the day. Unless Trump comes out and pulls something we're not expecting, then we will start seeing the dollar sell off. If that happens, then you could start leaning. Dollar sells off, Canadian dollar is the one to play against, right? Also, the US dollar, Japanese yen is going to be very interesting. So put this towards the top. This is not green lighted even. This is neutral. US dollar, Canadian dollar is still neutral right now. US dollar, Japanese yen could become very interesting on both ways. So this is so far the pound Japanese yen and the US dollar Japanese yen are becoming the two that I'm looking to trade that are becoming interesting for me. Australian dollar, US dollar, yeah, I see a buy developing there. I'm not interested in it. US dollar, Canadian dollar, guys, I want to get closer to this resistance level to look to lean off of. This one might not hold. This one would be more ideal because you can see all the resistance here horizontally, this trend line resistance, this whole area of resistance is really nice. Let's see what happens. Again, we're just now 10 minutes into the market opening. What we were looking to happen was upon the market opening for the US dollar to take another look at these highs in the first 45 minutes, or that might not happen until after Trump speaks, but I think that's what's happening today. Good point. So yeah, let's go back and take a look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. A couple of hundred pips to the upside. Is that possible? Yeah, that would put us back towards not 200 pips, but close to it, right? More or less back towards this. That would be like the best and worst case scenario. Like first of all, the Canadian dollar is pretty strong, and especially versus the dollar. If we got back up into this pocket over here, that would be gravy, right? Put a blue zone up there. That's we would love to get back up there to look at selling. Um, I'm more interested to what happens around here. Why? If we get back up to here in the US dollar, Canadian dollar, this resistance level up here, guys, the DXY is trading at this trend line right here. That's pretty heavy resistance. This resistance up here, a break out of this channel, would put us towards this resistance up here, and that would have the US dollar, Canadian dollar trading probably in this pocket. All right, both are places to look for shorts. Am I looking for a counter trend trade? No, because why? If the US dollar is strong, play it versus the euro, right? That's where the money's been made. You're not going to make it going against the stronger pair, which is the Canadian dollar. All right, so that's why we've taken the trade here to the downside, and we're not looking to take a very counter trend trade here to the upside versus a pair that is strong. All right, play strength versus weakness. Don't play moderate strength versus moderate strength. That's not an edge. That's really important piece of the puzzle here. It's a really important piece of the puzzle. So just focus in on that. You want to go strength versus weakness. Downside. So as far as US equities are concerned, at least, You have the Fed providing an enormous amount of liquidity to the markets, which translates into higher equity prices. At this point in time, to be going against that is, I can't imagine it. And it's a slow grind upwards. If and when the Fed begins taking away that liquidity, then you could see the markets crash and burn. Okay, that's what happened in the dot-com bubble. It's very similar to what's happening right now. You had first, before the peak of the dot-com bubble, you had the Fed cutting rates and then injecting liquidity. That's what we're seeing today. As soon as they took away that liquidity, the market crashed. I'm not exactly sure when is the first. It looks like they're going to have to continue providing liquidity nonstop going forward. It's not any time on the immediate horizon when they'd be taking out that. I'm fuzzy on the dates. I follow it on Twitter, um, and so with it being incorrect, I think March is like the time where I would need to begin looking deeper into that. It's not yet. It's not right now. Do not short these things unless you started seeing the system break. If you start seeing things move hard and fast to the downside when they're happening, all right, they're not happening now. So just be careful. This will be my first time ever looking at this. Let me see if I can find the ticker real quick for you. I just have to assume it's the same story. I'm not familiar at all with this, and I don't even look at the DAX ever. But similar situation from what I'm seeing in the U.S. equities. All right, I can't get into that with any type of authority, so I can't. I'm not going to speak about something that I don't know. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar continues to move. Okay, we might get a little bit of a reprieve here, right? You're down towards this support over here. You could see the support. Look at my mouse horizontal line. You could see the support in this area. You could see price stabilizing over here, and we may get a reprieve. We're looking at the Australian dollar possibly bottoming over here, possibly. Again, this is the pocket we're looking for. As far as the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar is concerned, I mean, there's not. This is, again, the Canadian dollar strong. You don't want to go against the strength. What you want to do is see if and when we get any type of uh, move to the upside when the entry CCI, and here's where the entry CCI is really helpful on the true trend. You see that you're in the downtrend now for sure. You see the entry CCI come up. First pullbacks are normally very strong and good. So any type of little bit of just reprieve in this bleeding and then a resumption to the downside looks good. This is actually, I'll green like this. I'm going to watch this one closely. All right. Let's keep going. We have New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. You can see this New Zealand dollar is acting stronger than the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar here. You see that clearly. If you get a look back up here, if we're able to get a look back up into this resistance, that looks like a place where this pair would really come into play for myself. And I would be looking to perhaps take a look at getting short. Adversely, if we do break down the support level, then there's some nice room to the downside. Again, also, it's the breaks of the trend lines that always provide the best entries. This should be the first entry, should be up here on the break of these trend lines. Pound US dollar is stabilizing also at this support. It's very similar setups and plays to what's happening on the pound Japanese yen. I'm leaning towards the pound Japanese yen over the pound US dollar here, but it looks like here that um, especially when you're seeing some decent US dollar strength today, pound is holding its own. That's a strong sign that the pound is growing in strength. And yeah, the pound Japanese yen is beginning to look better and better. Here we're taking a look now of taking out this resistance right here. So ideally what I would like to see would be us take out the resistance, come back up into this resistance here of this trend line up here, be rejected, test the support, and then on the breakout, come in and look for an entry, which would look like up, down, and then up. And then if all that plays out like that, I'm all aboard and looking at that trade. So again, it was brought to my attention yesterday that when we first started these live streams a couple of weeks ago, there used to only be like 10 of us. I would take a moment during the live streams and just thank everyone for going ahead and hitting that thumbs up, because what that does is that helps the YouTube algorithm get this video seen by others, right? And then others are able to come in and join us and help us, contribute to the community and group. So I do appreciate those showing the love. If you're new here and haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. And also, we've gone ahead and we've added this resource. This is the free Telegram group, which I send out updates later in the session on any trades that we have in play. All right. If you haven't joined that already, do go ahead and join that. All right, let's keep it going. I saw the US dollar, Mexican dollar coming. Look at this. This was spiking up yesterday and now has been sent right back down. I am interested what's going on here. If anyone has any further insight into the Mexican peso, um, I'm interested if this support here doesn't hold, what that opens up to the downside. I'm very surprised by the appreciation of the Mexican peso. And if anyone has any insight into that, definitely please share it with us. What's happening here on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and it looks like this might be a place to look for longs again. You could see this trend line here that held that support. It's kind of what we're looking for to happen on gold. I'll just jump to that really quick and then come back to the New Zealand dollar. So the first line in the sand I'm looking for in gold is for this trend line over here, and to see if that holds, right? And on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar right now, it looks like this support is coming into play and holding. It is a little bit ugly though. Ugly meaning you're not going to take a trade right into resistance, which you have overhead, and then you have heavier resistance over here. So definitely not in play and stand aside. I don't have any edge whatsoever. If anyone has a better look, please do send us a chart and let us take a look together. Does look weak, right? It's like when is she going to start really running over? And if you break this trend line over here, Chris, um, does that open up the door for all the way down here to the support down here, or more appropriately down here? Possibly, right? Possibly. I'm not sure though. It looks to me like initially this is going to hold. If you get an opportunity to sell off this resistance and another break of this trend line, that might be a really good trade that might really offer some counter trend opportunity in the near future as this begins rolling over. but I wouldn't be surprised if we take another look here to the upside, especially when I think we're gonna get it's weird because I think that the de-escalation here is gonna be dollar positive, and also it's gonna be risk risk on, uh, which I lean towards the weaker yen then, and that's why the US dollar, Japanese yen could become pretty interesting above this resistance over here. So Bitcoin, I'm gonna so as we look at Bitcoin, the first thing I just want to say is that I follow Bitcoin on the 12-hour time frame using the true trend BTC, which is different than the other true trends we look at. This is using a 333 period, and really simple. When it crosses to the downside, you're out of Bitcoin, and when it crosses back up, you're into Bitcoin. And just over, it's the simple, the best way to be involved into Bitcoin and capture the large moves and be on the sidelines for large moves to the downside as well. All right. And without getting into it, for example, you would have been in long Bitcoin around 250 and held all the way through. And yeah, you wouldn't have got out anywhere near the top of 1940, but you would have got out around, 8,500 in it too. So I am looking to buy Bitcoin soon, but and I believe the low was in at 6,500. I did a video on that at the time when Bitcoin was trading at 7,500 and falling. What am I looking at here? I haven't looked at Bitcoin on the daily in a long time. When price was trading around 7,500 and falling, it was in this area over here. Um, for I'm sorry, I don't know. You could just check the channel. I don't know if it was here or here, but I did a video and I said I believe 6,500 was going to be the low, and I believe it's going to be the low. But even though I believe it's going to be the low, I'm not looking to buy Bitcoin until I get my signal, and then I'll enter Bitcoin and buy it. All right. Um, I do believe the low is in. Nevertheless, I'm just waiting for that safer entry, and although I believe it's going to be still quite a while before we see significantly higher prices in Bitcoin, I believe that's going to occur, 3 to 5 months after May, after the halving. I believe it's coming. I wish we had a timestamps for all the times that we looked at pairs, so that we could, I could point you back to look at gold. Uh, yeah. So before we get to gold, let's first look at this. And yeah, I believe you're spot on, Blair. We're going to have some downtime here until President Trump speaks. Just checking here the price of Euro US dollar. Okay. Um, Mima getting short here, Australian dollar, Swiss franc. So you have here this support, right? Which kind of looks like it's breaking. And then as the signal you're taking is making a lower low during the New York session here, below this support here, which should now be turning into resistance. So could be a good trade. Mima, the one thing that I'm focused in on over here is because President Trump is speaking in 1 hour, and it looks like things are going to de-escalate here. Swiss franc is a risk-off currency, right? And the Australian dollar is a risk-on currency. Okay, and if things de-escalate here, we could become risk-on really quick and risk-off really quick. So be careful trading and watching this coming into an event that we have, which is a high impact news event in 1 hour, because the particular event that we're looking at is something that affects risk on and risk off. And these two currencies are both risk on, risk off. All right. So you're looking at this technically and you're trying to trade off that technically, which is good. But again, you always have to be aware of the fundamentals. And that's another edge. We're looking to layer upon edges. And we have a big news event in 1 hour that affects risk on, risk off. As far as gold, again, gold looks, really uncertain as far as there's no play here. You don't, some traders, of course, we knew were leaning into 1590 and 1600 just to sell those resistance levels. A lot of retail traders, I'm sure, bought last night, on the emotion. And the thing to do here is just stand aside on gold. Again, everyone should own physical gold. It's up to you to decide how much you should be owning, but you should be owning some physical gold. That's insurance. We're seeing the US is $23 trillion into debt. You got to hedge yourself against that. Bitcoin, gold. But as far as buying gold up here or trading it, I'm not going to trade against gold whatsoever. To the downside here, because that's crazy in this moment of time. But I think we're waiting down to maybe first get a look if along this trend line here, how gold tests that, somewhere between, that might come in around, I guess, like between 1540 and 1550, and first wait to see what happens there. Or we might see even gold, the pound Japanese yen is the best thing I could give you to look at as a comparison. Today is the first day that I've looked at in months and said, okay, this looks like a good time to look for an opportunity to trade it. Here's gold today, coming down now. Give it a minute here to stabilize and then set up, whether it's to the long side or downside. But right now, the move on gold happened already. The move on gold happened during the vacation on the breakout over here, breaking out this resistance level and this resistance level. This is the time to trade gold. Again, I never would have gotten into this trade over here because the breakout happened and was clean and hard and fast. This one on the breakout of this resistance level and the retest of support, yes. These were the two areas to trade gold. Right now, there's no play on gold. So Chris, as far as defining my trading style, definitely swing trading, right? I take a top-down approach starting on the daily time frame. This is where I set my support and resistance levels. This is where I form my trade lines and any channels. And then I go down to the 8 hour. This is where I look for more precision entries, specifically trading during London and New York, avoiding almost all the time entries during Asia. That's the way I do it. How long do trades last? Anywhere from 1 to 3, and I'm really happy when they last longer. Anytime that you can turn a swing trade into a position trade, you have to always just be on the lookout. All right. If anyone has any charts they want to send in that you've made your own personal annotations on, something interesting that you're looking at, you could go ahead and private message it me here on TradingView. You could just go ahead and do that. Just open up a chat and just, type in Jordan Lindsay, and then and that's it. You could just, take the photo, take a snapshot of your chart and get that link and send it over there. We could all look at it together. I think we've gone through. Is there anything we missed? The US dollar, Swiss franc we've missed. Let's take a look at that. I just don't see anything for me. And the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. I want to extend this trend line here. Oops. This could be an interesting place to buy. Hold on one second. This might be an interesting place to look to establish longs on the Australian dollar versus the New Zealand dollar. Just keep watching it. I don't see anything yet, but it definitely looks like this could be a place where she could be bottoming out. So I just want to start watching it and seeing. And the euro Canadian dollar. Again, it's that Canadian dollar has been pretty strong, but this looks just, messy to me. I don't like it. There's nothing here for me to look at for trading. Messy. I'll take a look at Tesla, because Tesla continues to defy all the odds, and I think that's going to continue as long as this mania of liquidity is supporting the equity markets. And I'm going to keep watching this thing and keep watching this thing. And if and when the Fed pulls out their liquidity, this might be better than shorting the indices. I think that any type of, I think no, yeah, it sounds counterintuitive. Yes, you got right. I personally think if Trump de-escalates, that's supportive of the U.S. dollar, um, and is going to be supportive of the U.S. dollar. Although I think that you will see currencies like the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar also. All right, I think the dollar will be stronger than the euro. Let me put it that way. If Trump de-escalates, I think the dollar will be stronger than the euro. Uh, you could see, for example, last night when Iran was attacking and why oil was shooting up and why gold was shooting up, the euro was making gains versus the dollar. When it turned out that there were no casualties and that the market was then thinking that this was going to actually lead to a de-escalation, you saw the dollar make gains versus the euro. All right. And you also saw the Australian dollar recover. So I think that a de-escalation translates into a stronger dollar versus the euro and a stronger dollar versus the yen. And I think both of those, because those are most heavily weighted in the DXY, is going to be a stronger, you're going to see the DXY coming up. Although I think you'll also see at the same time the Australian dollar outperform the US dollar. But I think we'll also see the yen weakest. Yep, Leonard, perfect punctuation. The yen, I think, will be the weakest out of all of that, right? So then if what does that mean? Australian dollar, Japanese yen, right? I'm going to focus in on the US dollar, Japanese yen. I'm looking at the pound, Japanese yen. You see the pattern here of yen pairs and also the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Uh, Above this resistance line here, that also becomes very interesting for me. Um, I want to look at this on the 8-hour. Yeah, I mean, those are the pairs for me. And they all have the Japanese yen in common. Yeah, be somebody FX. I mean, no, I think a de-escalation means a weaker yen. I believe it means a stronger US dollar versus the Japanese yen. And I believe it means a stronger US dollar versus the euro. Again, that's what occurred last night. That's what's been occurring. And both of those things are the most heavily weighted in the DXY. Do I think the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar will outperform the US dollar? Yeah. I think under de-escalation, that's what will happen. Um, do I think that the US dollar will outperform gold? Yep. So I don't think that it's black and white like that a de-escalation means a weaker dollar. I think that overall it means a stronger dollar, except for uh, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and I'm not sure about the Canadian dollar, which has come up so far, so hard, so fast. Yeah, well, that's the market, right? That's the market. It's traders taking either side of the trade and then getting involved. But we're gonna see really soon. We're gonna see in about 45 minutes, what happens with the euro. But again, last night, if you look at the euro, and here it is. This is during Asia. Come down here. Let me look at a 1 hour time frame with you. This over here is when the attack was happening, and you saw the stronger. It's over here on these two bars. This is the attack, and you saw the stronger euro when it was during the attack, and that was a big risk off event, right? You saw the yen strengthening, you saw gold kicking up. It was a strong risk off event, and it was the euro outperforming the dollar. And then once it was clear that it was off, you saw gold fall, you saw oil fall, and you saw the US dollar gain. So that's my thesis. And again, that's the market, people seeing it and reacting to it and placing bets accordingly, differently. And again, I have no problem being proven wrong, but that's my thesis and why. Why do you say the opposite? Yeah, I want to. No, I agree, and again, I want to learn. I'm always open to learning, and of course, as this event occurs within the next hour, great. That's the opportunity for all of us to learn and see. Um, Again, uh, there's no way I'm trying to say that I'm correct here, because I don't care if I'm correct or not in the market, right? Uh, when I every time I enter a trade, I'm entering it because I know that what happens works over time, giving the reasons and circumstances I'm taking them. So if I'm wrong at any given time, that's fine. But this is why I'm leaning how and why I'm leaning the way I am, and I don't need to be right. If someone could show me different, I want to learn and always improve. We do have about 45 minutes now until that's expected. And I'm gonna try to get a live link of that. I don't know much how much price action we're gonna see until then. So why I mean, good point. My own personal opinion is that's the thesis that we've had been under, for the last couple of, since I've been trading for the last 20 years. I believe things are changing in the fact that now when the US is starting this type of conflict and with Iran, and you have, China and Russia just about 10 days ago or a week ago, very recently, just did naval war drills with Iran, right? So if the US is to escalate versus Iran, all of that is going to do is cause further de-dollarization, right? With those that are allies with Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, right? So whereas in the past that would have been supportive of the dollar, this type of conflict is actually not supportive of the dollar, because it's causing further de-dollarization. It's causing people to move away from the dollar. It's causing people to find alternatives to the SWIFT system, where they could be cut off from, sanctioned, and not able to participate, which is happening to Russia, which is happening to Iran, and slowly but surely, as China and Russia are stockpiling gold, maybe you're going to start seeing oil settled in gold instead of the dollar. And at that point, that is really, really, really bearish the US dollar. So I don't know that the same premise will continue going forward. And I think you could see right now the market already pricing in that in differently when this type of conflict is happening. And this is the reason for it and why. Um, I think the only time that, unless you start seeing a severe system breakdown going back to the crisis, then you'll have that US dollar safe haven, because there's nowhere else to go but the dollar, right? But that is like if the system breaks, of something within the monetary system is broken, then of course you won't see gold rising in that situation either. You'll see gold collapsing, and you'll see that US dollar strength. As far as a geopolitical event such as this, you're seeing gold rising, right? It's not a systematic failure, it's a geopolitical tension. And I think that's why you would see the euro strength, because I think people would feel more comfortable about, you know, trading in euros than dollars. Yeah, in my opinion, for sure, Trump wants a weak dollar. Trump wants a weak dollar, not because he thinks it's Trump wants a weak dollar, not because he thinks it's the best for the country, because he knows it'll get him reelected. Plain and simple, right? So what happens after Trump gets reelected? I don't know, right? I don't know. Does he make some really hard decisions that are going to benefit the country? He might, right? I would not be surprised. Or are the people who think that Trump's all about ego correct, and he's thinking about his legacy, and will he continue to weaken that dollar, and look for infrastructure projects, to really spend some stimulus, and we'll see. But right now, as he's looking at an election a year from now, he absolutely wants a weaker dollar. He's, you know, People make fun of him that he can't even play like shoots and ladders or checkers. I mean, he basically forced by putting tariffs on China at the times he did. He forced the Fed to lower rates, right? That was pretty crafty, and we'll see what happens after the election. Right now, he definitely wants a weaker dollar, but more importantly, the Federal Reserve wants a weaker dollar. The Federal Reserve needs a weaker dollar, right? No one is buying treasuries right now because the dollar is too high. They need a weaker dollar. The Fed is the only one buying treasuries right now. Let's be right. I wish that we could plus one comments in YouTube. Thanks for that, and I feel the same way. And I believe that was Be Somebody FX who really sparked that discussion that we got going. So, just a shout out to Be Somebody FX for upping the game and helping us do that. Chris, again, I wish I could plus one these comments. Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know if anyone's watched, the Joe Rogan podcast. I think by now everyone probably has watched the Joe Rogan podcast. But I think that I saw on YouTube they have like Joe Rogan clips, and they take out like clips of certain of his podcast. I think that was a worthy clip that we could include on the channel. Yeah, Chris, I also wanted to say, and I mean, I know you're only doing it because it's just honestly what you felt and believe. You're not doing that to for any other reason than that, and that's why I appreciate it. And Be Somebody FX, I think the most important part of that is I have absolutely no problem to be proven wrong, and I'm always looking to learn. So I'm glad for it. It's really not about. So it's so funny because being a successful trader is not about being right. You don't need to be right to be successful. You just need to do what is smart, right? You just need to take trades at the most opportune time, right? Which is always selling off of strong resistance and buying off of strong support, and doing that with a favorable risk to reward, good position sizes, and as well as putting the most probabilities in your favor, right? Strongest currencies versus weak currencies, right? The right time of day. It's just layering in these additional edges and upping your probability so that you're taking high probability trades. And then when you take the trade, it doesn't matter on any individual trade if you're right or wrong, because you're going to be more right, or you're going to be more profitable. You could even be you have a win rate of even 45, 47%, and still be highly successful. Blair, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate you very much. And I so much appreciate having the opportunity to, to be able to work with you guys and interact with you guys. It's a good thing. So let's take a minute here and just read these headlines because this is like how to read through propaganda 101. Iran is believed to have deliberately sought to avoid US military casualties in the strikes. I have to really just say that there were some people on Twitter who were really just able to assess that really quickly. That's why Twitter is awesome as far as when news is happening around the world. But you see here, this is coming from Reuters and citing US and European government sources, meaning this is the narrative, right? Reuters, US and European government sources. So this is the narrative that they're building, and or by narrative, the storyline that they want to present. And that is that this was done as a deliberate way not to cause any US casualties in order to de-escalate. I believe everyone in the world is okay with that de-escalation. Most people in the world, maybe not the military industrial complex, but hopefully, I believe, love him or hate him, I believe Trump, has proven that he's not very war oriented already, and I believe he's going to step down. And let's see what happens here. My own personal trading turned around drastically once I realized that by trading less and taking better trades, that I produced much more profit. I initially believed as a trader that I always needed to be active and involved in the market, and that is probably one of the top pieces of advice I could give anyone is you know being active trader is actually detrimental. I mean, not that I mean, of course, taking 3 to 5 trades a week is considered very active, but I'm talking about, taking anywhere from 3 to 10 trades a day. Leonard, this is an excellent question, and I have to say that personally, originally, I used to be under the belief that it is best for a both a beginner and an advanced trader to stick with just a couple of instruments, whether it was 1 or 2 pairs, and really understand them and know them. I am no longer under that belief or would suggest that. I definitely and firmly believe the best thing to do is exactly what we do, covering a plethora of pairs and instruments and looking for the best setups out of all, because you could see that we look through, I don't know how many it is, is it 15, 20 pairs, and then out of those pairs we narrow it down to just a few, and then we focus in out of those few for where the setup is, right? And I believe that if you're just following the euro US dollar, I believe it's a lot more difficult than if you're looking at several or more than several pairs and then narrowing it down where the opportunity is at the time. So you could do that. I don't. Again, the best advice I offer though is look at all the pairs that we look at. If you're focusing in on certain pairs, maybe focus in on the yen pairs, right? Because the yen pairs tend to trend, and depending on your trading style, um, but you know, it doesn't take too long to look for the opportunity everywhere, especially Leonard. You're working closely with us. We're doing it together. And you know, I mean, when I think now about, offering advice, it's what advice am I going to be offering to my kids? How am I going to teach them how to trade, how to invest? And I would definitely have them look at all the pairs. If that seems now, if that seems overwhelming to someone who's just, it's very difficult, because again, I started trading 20 years ago, so it is a little difficult. Maybe it's overwhelming, and if that's the case, well then that's something definitely to for me to understand better, and is an important factor. Um, but then I would think, you know, s- if that's the case, that so many pairs is overwhelming and confusing, then I think maybe, again, I used to think one or two pairs was the ideal situation. Maybe you want to start with something like seven. I'm gonna exit my euro Japanese yen trade here right now. I'm exiting this. I'm exiting this, solely on the belief that I believe that we're gonna have to see de-escalation here right now, and that we're going to, obviously see, some yen weakness. I don't know that I'm right, but I'm comfortable taking the full profit here now as we've come down, um, and we're sitting over here. All right. What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, and right now we're going to take a look at the Euro Japanese yen. Now, this is an update on yesterday's trade analysis on this particular pair, sent out at the same time where we were looking for a trade overnight, which did trigger. Okay, now if you remember what we were looking for to happen as price was over here trading against this resistance with this overhead resistance, we were looking to see if we got a rejection of this resistance level, and then the entry did occur down here around 121.17, and now we're currently holding this pair short. You could see price has come down and tested the support area over here and has since traded back up, and you could see these wicks over here. You got some further resistance right overhead over here, which is why I'm still holding this trade open. I am, however, locking in my trade by moving the stop to break even at this point, and I'm just giving it room to roam to see what happens. I want to take another look over here
welcome. Glad
after
you're here.
today's
We had,
Asia and London
it's about
session
90
and
minutes into the
reevaluate
session,
in the
Ali.
morning.
I highly
prefer
suggest,
to give
instead
my
of hanging
trade,
out
this is
here
now
right
a
now
free
with
trade,
us,
and I
going
prefer to give
back
it to the
and
room to
watching
see
the
if we can get a
replay.
breakdown of this support
Great
over
session.
here. This area over
Very
here
active in
around
the first half
120,
hour,
26,
going over all
27
the currency
would be a
pairs
very
today and the
nice
state of the
area to
market.
look how price reacts and maybe
Then
take
the rest of the
profits
session
over
also
there.
really solid. You're going to learn a lot. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. Start joining us when you can. Watch the replays when you can, and really get in step with us. Yeah, that's true, Leonard. You're talking about a lot of innocent lives involved here. A lot of innocent lives involved here. I think I had the volume on over there. That's why we were hearing double. Hopefully we're good now. Peppa, what's going on? Good session today, Peppa. If you missed this one, definitely watch the replay. I'm holding my US dollar short here open. Of course, we have a pretty big deal coming up at the top of the hour. President Trump is expected to speak. I have no idea if he'll speak exactly at the top of the hour or not. But yeah, I think there's a possibility we break through here, and that's why I'm holding the trade. I'm continuing to watch. Peppa, if anything changes, I'll update us through the Telegram. If you haven't already joined the Telegram, go ahead and click on that link and join the Telegram channel. Later in the day, any open trades or any new trades develop, I do a quick 1 or 2 minute video about them and update the group through there. Do you think I think Forex Live actually is watching our live streams? They seem to just always be in step with what we're saying. Obviously, that's sarcasm, but true. And this is where we're at today. So also always you want to be aware of what could happen adversely, right? What happens if Trump decides to escalate the situation here? Obviously, we all know without even thinking about it, yen strength across the board, that's the play.
No, so yeah, I assure you not though. But I do like Greg's TA. Greg, I don't use his technical analysis whatsoever, and you could see by his style and my style that I don't. But he does offer good. The live stream slows down my computer connection a lot here. Um, but I like Greg's TA, and I like Forex Live as a RSS feed for news events because they normally are very quick. If if something's going on in the market, like I see all of a sudden pairs start moving, I go to Forex Live right away and I see what the news event was. If they don't have it, I then go to the news on Forex Factory because they usually will have it. And if they don't have it, then I go to Zero Hedge. And then of course, Twitter. Here you go. You get these type of charts are Greg's charts, and anything on Forex Live by Greg is good stuff. Rustin, I don't know if you saw some pretty wild price action here going on with this really big spike up and then down. I can't get a read whatsoever what's going on. I am perplexed by the US dollar, Mexican peso, and from a TA standpoint, you could see the series, right, of lower highs, and then you see the basing out. This looks like the New Zealand dollar, US dollar in reverse before that huge move. I just can't imagine how the Mexican peso is going to appreciate against the dollar while it is in the country's in recession. But the Canadian dollar is doing it, and they're also in recession. So I just don't know. All right, so there's nothing going on right now except everyone waiting, obviously, for the President Trump to speak. So Peppa, there is the possibility that we'll be taking profits pretty soon, depending on how the market reacts to when the president speaks. But I'm hoping that we break through this support down here, and then I will be looking to take profits down in this area, right? And that's not to say that we couldn't go lower, but here's Peppa. This is what I'm looking at. Uh, if the euro is able to take a look down at that next support level, I think the DXY is testing this resistance level up here. Is there another one? Yeah, I think this is the first one that comes into play, this trend line resistance here. And that's not to say that there's not the possibility that the dollar doesn't even break out here to the upside, right? But I will take profits there. That would be a great trade. And I will take profits if we get past here and a look down towards here. I'll take my profits and call that just a phenomenal trade. Again, I'll also take profits up here if things change, and that's why if you're not already, using that Telegram group, do that, because while we're not on the live stream, if anything changes on an open trade like that, that's how I would let everyone know what I'm doing. Thank you. I've been trying to get my wife to watch this one with me. Hopefully today will be the day. But thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm just including that link there in case anyone hasn't yet watched it, because I do think it's worthwhile to watch. That's awesome, Papa. That's really awesome. And again, this is what the chart you're focused in on, bigger picture, long term. Here's where we are right now in this yellow zone, right? And this is the time to be accumulating Bitcoin. This is probably one of the safest times to accumulate Bitcoin. When you're dead wrong, below 5,800, you're dead wrong. And then my whole thesis is underwater. I need to reevaluate. I don't think that's going to happen. And then look what happens, 3 to 6 months after the halving. This is when the games begin, these next 18 months. And Andreas, first of all, I think this is you, and big thank you for go ahead and checking out and liking these videos. I really appreciate that. And also really astute. Yeah, the replay was great today. Highly recommend it. Really, really good one. And just everyone in the group was really interacting well. And yeah, don't ever worry about being late, or if you can't join us, we'll love to have you here when you can be here, and when you can't, there's always a replay, and obviously that's going to help anyone trading the markets. Peppa, we had, and I think that today I'm going to actually find that clip in our live stream when we were really talking about what you just said as far as the euro, and we really get into it. And it was a good conversation. I'm going to try to find that, upload that as a separate clip. And yeah, I think you're right. And I think here, again, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I do know, and you could just look at the latest example last night. Here's when we had risk off, and you see the euro gaining right here during the attacks versus the US dollar. We got into why I believe that's happening. And then the markets realized that there were no casualties, we saw gold drop. We also saw the dollar gain. All right. So what I believe is going to happen here, we're gonna if we see Trump de-escalate, that we're going to see some further U.S. dollar strength, that we're going to see this level taken out, and we're going to see yen weakness. I don't know. That's what I'm. That's what I. That's what I think is going to happen. Look, as far as Bitcoin though, you need to be long term minded, and even these next 18 months, right? Yeah, you get up in this zone, of course you're taking some profits. Good, great. But you should be thinking holding Bitcoin, at least for the next decade, right? For the next three halvings. That's what your time horizon on Bitcoin should be. Just on gold, if you own any physical gold, your plan should be able to pass that down to the next generation, to never sell it, right? And with Bitcoin, probably 10 years from now, at that point you could begin spending it. You probably wouldn't want to get rid of it. And guys, most importantly, I'm just sharing what the little that I know. I'm just sharing. It's not little. I'm sharing whatever I know. And listen, I'm always learning. I'm just like all of you. I'm always trying to better myself. I'm always trying to understand more. And I'm just here to offer what I can. I don't have the truth. I don't know that I'm right. I only understand what I understand and the pieces that I've put together. Right. We must be able to get a link for this speech. I'm looking right now. Let's see if anyone has a link. I'm sure it's going to be live on YouTube. If anyone does have the link, let me know. Let's take a look at crude. Oh, as far as Andreas, how long we're going to be on the live stream? We're definitely going to keep going today because I want to see. We have President Trump speaking in a little bit. It's going to be a huge catalyst for the market, or I believe it will be. So definitely going to stay online together here and see what's going on and how the market reacts and how we should react. It's a big deal. You can see that support is holding still though right now. Oh, by the way, when it was brought to my attention yesterday, that listen, Jordan, you should be, kind of asking people to like the videos. We all appreciate what you're offering, and we know that's just a small way of showing appreciation. But they said that, listen, most of us are watching this video with the full screen, right? And so what I would love to be able to do is to find out how to be able to live stream this so that you have the chat window over here, because you don't need to be looking at these pairs over here in this free space. And if we had the chat window over here so that people who are viewing this on a full screen are able to then also follow the chat, that would be ideal. I don't know how to do it yet. I've looked into it a couple of times, and you know, it's like everything else. It's really confusing until you understand it. Andreas, we just closed that about 15 minutes ago. I updated that in the on TradingView, and the reason I closed it was simply because I believe that we're going to see some yen weakness in just a little bit. Blair, really interesting. You're saying that we just saw some big sell-off here on the pound, and more importantly, obviously we're seeing a little bit of yen strength across the board. I don't know why that's happening. Um, we'll see, I guess, in just a couple of minutes as Trump gets ready to speak. I found this link over here. I'm gonna need to put that on so that as soon as that comes on, you'll hear it. This little bit of yen, this might have been people squaring up before.
President Trump took
speaks.
to Twitter last night saying
this is
that
a
all is
highly
well.
volatile
Missiles
situation,
launched from Iran at
and
2
it's
military
best,
bases
to
located
stick
in
to your
Iraq.
plan and not
Assessment
get
of
involved
casualties and
emotionally
damages
here.
taking place now. That was happening as he was tweeting that out yesterday. So far, so good. We have the most powerful and well-equipped military anywhere in the world. By far, I will be making a statement tomorrow morning, and this is the morning,
right.
and it
that's
is
awesome.
almost time for President
That's
Trump
awesome.
to come out and
we're
address
all
not only
learning,
the media,
right?
not only the
And
nation,
it's the same thing
but
as
the
like
world
compounding interest,
on how
right?
the
It's just that
response and
keep
the
adding that
reaction will
knowledge,
be from the United
and adds up.
States.
This is Bitcoin, right? This is months, these years to go, months. Is it possible to do 17% a month? Yep, let me get that link up to you. This is one of them, I'm sure many. It's the one I found. Either way, they're going to be holding it live as soon as it gets on. So now, from my little experience, Trump's a vested kind of guy who kind of is a little late to these things. Not to say that he's not important. He is the president of the United States, but I wonder if it's kind of make himself appear more important. Right? He's the type of grandstand type guy.
And welcome to all our viewers worldwide here on News Now. We are just waiting for this moment to happen. President Trump going to be addressing the nation, talking about the attacks that were happening last night, where they shot missiles into Iraq at U.S. bases. Fortunately, no service members were injured or killed in those attacks. We will see the response from the president just moments away. You're watching live here on News Now.
Leonard, view this definitely as an opportunity for learning and playing. This is really not a time that you want to get involved in trading emotionally without a plan during these high impact news events. Use this as a really
and while the attacks were the latest escalation with Tehran in the aftermath of a U.S. drone strike that killed an Iranian terrorist, initial assessments showed no U.S. casualties. A U.S. military official in Baghdad told Fox News last night. The president's upcoming address comes after Iran fired as many as 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq. 10 missiles hit the air base, which houses U.S. troops. One missile hit a U.S. military base in Erbil, and 4 missiles failed to hit their targets, according to a U.S. military spokesman for Central Command. The late Tuesday attacks unfolded in 2 waves about an hour apart.
I mean, also, right, guys, he's probably going to come out and he's got to sound a little bit tough. Like, Iran just launched missiles at military bases, U.S. military bases. So he's got to sound protective of that. So you might originally see risk off, right? And then it may become clear that he's not going to escalate, and then you see risk on. So you got to be really careful in these types of situations. You don't get whipsawed back and forth, because we have some really active algorithms, high frequency trading algorithms that are trading off of words said during this press conference, and you're not as fast as them. So just be aware. You could see some back and forth action, and don't get caught up in it. Yeah, and here's the thing, by not gambling, because gambling leads to losing money in the long term. The house always wins, so that's not good, right? But if you play blackjack, if you play something that over time the odds could be in your favor, then you could beat the house. But you want to play blackjack for the long term here and not be gambling, because the more money you have, right, even if it's something like, let's say you had $5,000, and then let's say this was years, and you had 10 years, and you were growing that, let's say let's say it was 20% a year. All right, now let's say that 10 years of the same return was 20 years. And then 30 years, That's something everyone could do. Well, let's say that you did that and you added, let's say this was only 20 years. Let's say it was 15 years. But each year you added, let's say, $2,500. Now that was 30 years, right? So all I'm getting at here is that money and capital is precious. You don't want to throw it away because you could learn to do this pretty easily. You could learn to do this pretty easily. All right.
And right now we do continue to wait for the president here. It was supposed to happen at the top of the hour, but as you can see, still no movement yet. But we are all waiting and ready for this very big moment, not only for President Trump, but for history, for our country here. This is a momentous moment. A lot of people feeling this moment here as we saw the strikes happening last night. Everyone was wondering, okay, what is happening? What is going to happen next? What is our response going to be? And when is the president going to speak? It is now just moments away. He tweeted last night. We've all heard that and read that. But now here we are, ready for the moment. President Trump to address the nation in one of his biggest speeches ever.
Looks like this chat is full of Chinese and Russians and Ukrainians. Guys, I'm sorry about the dead air right now. I'm just kind of like, well, like you and everyone else, just waiting for Trump to get on the mic here and let us know what the next move is and what he's doing. I was looking for that. I couldn't find it. I clicked this. I couldn't find hide. There you go, hide chat. There you go. Obviously, I have my euro US dollar open trade here, and you know, if we start making a higher high over here, if we start trading above these two areas over here, then I'm gonna have to consider taking profits and consider myself proven wrong. Where that level is though, maybe around 1140. I'm not sure yet, so we'll find out in a little bit. But I always want to be looking for my exit and where I'm wrong. Beautiful trade though. It's already a beautiful trade. If we break the support, it becomes just, you know, sweet.
For civilian aircraft in the Persian Gulf. The agency barred U.S. pilots and carriers from flying over areas of Iraqi, Iranian, and some Persian Gulf airspace. A magnitude 4.9 this morning, striking in
Right, right over here. I think we saw that, you know, most specifically here, you see a big move, but all yen pairs came in over here. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but I wonder if they were trying to get people on the wrong side of the market. I wonder. Not that we know what the right and wrong side of the market is, but we'll find out in a little bit. While we're waiting, this is I was looking at this compounding calculator, and this is key right here, guys.
20% a year, that's it's nothing. I know that it sounds like a lot, and that should be a goal for many people, but definitely achievable. And I know that most people don't have such a long time horizon, but you should, right? You should. What happens if you added $1,000 a month for 10 years? And just 5 years later, right? If you're not thinking 15 years into the future, then you're not understanding what investing's all about. Now, what happens if you could do this? What happens if you could do 17% a month, right? And what happens if you could do that for a year and a half? Let's say that's 1 Bitcoin, all right? So that's 16 Bitcoin 18 months from now. How much will 16 Bitcoin be worth 18 months from now when Bitcoin's trading? Probably somewhere around $100,000. Right? How do you do that? I don't know if it's possible, right? This is what I'm working on. This is only 2 months of data, so it's not a lot. But this is what I'm working towards, being able to come in around that rate, or 15%. Right? What happens if you add just 6 more months to that? 3 years, is that a big horizon? Pep, I appreciate that. You know, it's funny, we have one of my lifelong best friends pop in here every once in a while and give us some childhood stories. And his nickname is Peppa Kid. So you know, definitely fond of the nickname. Yeah, for sure, Muchin is placing. What has he got? He had it when he, you know, last a year ago, he had 50 million in offshore bank accounts. What does he have now? He's probably 10x that with the inside information he has now. This guy's really still keeping us waiting, huh? I've seen him do this before. I'm not surprised. I'm gonna get rid of the chat.
Trying to pull up. Nah, he doesn't trade at all. He doesn't trade at all. He did actually, I guess back in at one point made through another friend of actually we have a mutual friend who made a ton of money selling a automated equity system. I don't know who he sold it to. I don't know if it was a private hedge fund or what. Close friends camped with a lot though, and he had recommended him in about the summer of 2017 to buy Bitcoin. Made a ton of money, but then they parlayed all of that money into Ripple. Ripple went actually up from like 20 cents to $3. They didn't take profit, and we're back down at 20 cents. Let me see if this works now, where I could pull up a different chart. There we go. Nope. Oh well, didn't work. I think the US dollar, Japanese yen is the best pair to watch going into this, because then we have a pretty good barometer. Time like this, I'm gonna take a peek at Twitter to find out what is going on here. This is an interesting tweet. If you're on Twitter, look for this guy here, Luke Groman. Definitely a good follow. And this is kind of related to what we were talking about earlier. He's saying, paradoxically, the more the U.S. uses its military, the stronger the U.S. government's greatest adversary becomes. What's the U.S. government's greatest adversary? I think that is the interest, the debt. It's definitely the debt, and therefore the interest gaining on the debt. The debt is now $23 trillion. And I believe that the interest yearly on that now is 1 trillion. So I think that is why we're seeing a weaker dollar. When we were talking about, we're seeing that shift away from, whereas that used to be more of a risk off type a risk off type situation, and now we're seeing the dollar actually move adversely. The U.S. government's greatest adversary is in China, Russia, or Iran, but the most powerful force on earth, compounding interest. There you have it. So this will cause the U.S. to take on more debt. It already has $23 trillion worth of debt. It's paying $1 trillion of interest a year. The compounding interest is a killer, right? So we're looking at over here. All right, seeing the US dollar spike up a little bit here. I suppose we're seeing that yen weakness, but nothing's happening. Oh, here we go. We got Trump speaking.
I salute the incredible skill and courage of America's men and women in uniform.
No volume.
For far too long, here in the Middle East and beyond. Those days are over. Iran has been the leading sponsor of terrorism, and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world. We will never let that happen. Last week, we took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives.
On that.
At my
I'll
direction,
post the link again for you.
the
reason I have
United
no
States
volume is
military
because
eliminated
the
the
way this is set up
world's
for the
top
live stream.
terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. As the head of the Quds Force, Soleimani was personally responsible for some of the absolutely worst atrocities. He trained terrorist armies, including Hezbollah, launching terrorist strikes against civilian targets.
King, phenomenal session. All I could say is you're not late. Watch the replay. So Trump is saying that Iran appears to be standing down after the attack. That's a sign of de-escalation. Let's look towards the Japanese yen pairs. In a pretty tight range, right? In the last hour.
Changes its behavior. In recent months alone, Iran has seized ships in international waters.
Trump says that he's going to impose additional sanctions on Iran. So this seems to be the reaction, right? Further sanctions, but that seems to be definitely not an escalation of any type of military response. So right now, it seems like we're only going to see additional sanctions placed on top of Iran. That is definitely seemingly a de-escalation type event. Are we seeing that starting to be priced into the Japanese yen? Boom, there's that resistance level. We got to get above here. We get above here, again, I'm interested in going long, not until then, and not during this current time frame. Thanks, Mima. Appreciate it. I assume we have gold coming off here. Let's take a look. Yeah, gold is trading down. And I think our premise is going to be correct, that we're going to see everything that we thought we would see, which is probably a strong Australian dollar, weak yen, weak euro versus the dollar at least, gold coming off. I think all these things will continue. I think this should provide some good setups coming up. I'm not trading off this event right now, though. I'm waiting to see what happens. Gotta love these support and resistance levels we put in, how they really come into play. President Trump saying that the U.S. does not need Middle Eastern oil, but he sure does need for that oil to be traded in dollars. President Trump going on to say that America's economic strength is the deterrent, the best deterrent. That again, that's additional sanctions. Again, I believe that's going to be the death of the US dollar, is using it as an economic weapon. He says that he doesn't want to use military might. That's a good thing. No one wants to see any type of military conflict. Again, using the US dollar as a weapon is probably the worst mistake and the demise of the US empire when you look down in history. All right, looks like we're getting a breakout here of ever since he said he doesn't want to use military might. We're seeing what looks like perhaps a breakout here. Again, this looks good. I want to see a breakout here. Maybe it gets away from me. I never get a chance to get into it. But if we get a retest of this, even if that happens during Asia, I hope it does, and it could get long here during London, I will. Is this if you're a short-term trader, are you taking a trade right here? Yeah, this looks like a good entry right here, but I'm not, and I'm not taking it. I'm holding my euro US dollar and hoping that we break down below this support right now, at least watching it to see what happens and what further develops. I want to get a quick look here at the DXY, and we've made it above exactly as we planned earlier in the session. Everything's unfolding. So I have my eye on this resistance coming up here. Of course, if we get rejected, if this breakout doesn't hold and we start trading below here, I know I'm dead wrong, below 97, right? 97.07. I know that I'm wrong, but until then, I think we're going to trade up into here. And I'm hoping that translates into a target area down here on the euro US dollar trade. That's what I see developing. It's almost ironic that we have 34 people watching here. There are other live streams trading the markets that get hundreds of people. I truly believe what we offer here is invaluable insight, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. There we go too. We have the Australian dollar, Japanese yen breaking out above this resistance level. We're seeing that yen weakness as expected. I'm looking for the pound Japanese yen. Back up to that level. Leonard, I think you're right. I think this was the sharks looking to take advantage, eat some guppies, get people leaning the wrong way. Again, I believe the US dollar, Japanese yen is the best way to play this, or the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. But I'm not looking for any type of entry here. Although, yeah, it's a good one. But again, I stick with where I know I make money, and that's how I'll continue to make my money. Watching what happens here. If the support holds, though, I'm going to exit my position, right? So I'm aware. So here I am showing this is years to grow, right? So and I go when we do the calculation in dollars, yeah. So I'm using this as months. Okay, so this is 3 years. This years to grow says 36 years, but that's 36 months. If you could have a 15% return a month, is that possible? I don't know. I'm working on it, right? There's only 2 months. 34 to go. What should someone else be looking at? Adding 20% a year. No, this is, I don't think you, so I think if you added $1,000 a month or $500 a month for the first 3 or 4 years, that's all you need to do. Later on, as your account grows, you don't need to keep adding this money. Say you were adding $500 a month. Yeah, that's private. I'm not sharing that. Oh, someone asked if they're still with us. I hope they are, about how I feel about Coinbase. Coinbase is an extraordinarily easy way to buy Bitcoin, specifically in the US. But I am extraordinarily anti Coinbase. I've used them in the past. Here's the thing: they've hired companies that they're tracking everything you do, and maliciously. They are like, Google, don't be evil, yet we are. Coinbase is exactly that. Uh, they're I am highly against them. I no longer would recommend anyone using their services. Um, Here's the thing though, you could, there are many other avenues that are safer and better than Coinbase. And to put it, I mean, they have, put it this way, they have the worst reputation as far as those that are really in the know when it comes to Bitcoin. All right, we're at an important level here. You see the breakout of the resistance, and now we're coming back and testing into it. So if you're short time, this is not the time of day to be trading, but you're dealing with a high impact news event, which makes it in play. Not my style, but here's what's happening. That's an interesting question, Peppa. I mean, if I was talking to, yeah, I can't offer advice, but if I was talking to my best friend,
I would recommend definitely, yeah, definitely selling that. If you buy off of a FX choice, if you could, deposit uh deposit money and then transfer that into Bitcoin, that is a clear way to buy Bitcoin without, you know, they're not reporting to the US government, right? Not that you don't want them reporting to this government. Any money you make, you always want to claim. You have to claim your income, but you don't want people tracking what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? You don't, and any Bitcoin bought on Coinbase is 100% being tracked through chain analysis, 100%. Here's the resumption upwards over here. There is BISC. This is a way, I never used it. I'm not familiar with it. This is definitely one of the best ways to buy Bitcoin through fiat without anyone knowing about it. I believe, well, again, you have this option through FX Choice. You pay a 1.5% fee for that, though, of transferring within FX Choice. There are others. There's one other specifically, and it's this one right here on Twitter. Holdo. The BISC and Holdo are the two best ways for buying Bitcoin. For those with it, for those who are serious about Bitcoin and know the most about Bitcoin, those are the two services most highly recommended as far as purchasing Bitcoin with privacy. And truthfully, those people who are in the know are not in the know at all about using like a Forex broker to do that. Here's the resumption upwards. That played out on a much shorter time frame than even the 15-minute. Let's look at that at the 5-minute. On the 5-minute, you just had the test, never even a pullback. Interesting. Yeah, DJ, and that's similar on a Bitcoin ATM. You're paying a premium, but you also you might want to wear a hat, and because they have cameras, and I don't know what is privacy is important, plain and simple. That's it. And everyone it should be a fundamental right for all human beings to have the right to privacy. But you're paying a premium. You're paying a little bit more for that access on the Bitcoin ATM, but yeah, that might be a more private way to do it. I believe that is a more private way to do it. Beautiful. So, am I interested in the US dollar, Japanese yen? Yeah. Guess see me looking at it. Will I get a pullback later, sometime during Asia or London, to be able to enter during London or New York? I don't know. It might get away from me. I might never get an entry.
and I'm perfectly fine if that happens, and that's the case. That's what I'm waiting for. Obviously, as this all happened in real time, I noted that that was a good entry. If you were short time minded, I'm not, and therefore didn't take it. But there it is. What's happening on the pound? Japanese yen, similar play. Again, I just want to take a step back because this pair is becoming of interest to me. Again, I'm waiting. A break of this trend line gets me very interested. Again, I don't play the straight breakouts. There are times they get away from me where I'll never get an opportunity to get in, like happened over here on this break of resistance. It's boom, straight up to the next one. Never an opportunity to get in. More often than not, that's not what happens. Gold coming back down now into our pocket. We were interested what happens here. I'm assuming we get even more of a sell-off on gold. We'll see. I don't know. Again, I'm expecting, I don't know if I'm right, but I'm expecting the DXY is going to come and trade in this resistance, next. Euro is not so far taking out the support. Again, as we're at support though, I'm watching this trade and I'm seeing what happens. If we can't break through, I have to be looking to take my profits on the trade. So that's something I'll be looking at as the session goes on today. I'm not doing anything yet, but I will reevaluate, as the day goes on. That's something that I would update through Telegram. Local Bitcoins used to be a good place to go ahead and do that. They do now require KYC and is not the place anymore for that. But that used to be the place to do that. Yeah, the interview with Edward Snowden and Joe Rogan is awesome, as well as I really liked Oliver Stone's movie Snowden. Specifically, when you find out, how they're freely tracking, not only tracking, but invading your privacy all the time, whether it's through Facebook and other outlets like that. And, again, privacy is not, well, I'm not doing, yeah, you better not be doing anything wrong. You better be following the laws. But it's not a fact that like, since I'm not doing anything wrong, well, I should have nothing to worry about. So it doesn't matter. No, privacy is a right. It's a fundamental right. And you should protect your privacy, especially as we enter this new age, right? Look what's happening in China with this whole social credit scoring system. People are not able to ride public transportation, to take flights. It's really important you learn how to protect your privacy. So that's also probably, Blair, that is a culmination of look at that, broke the trend line. This is the area to look at next. This was not only the current risk on environment, risk on could be positive oil, the de-escalation of the Middle East here, but then you had the higher than expected buildups, right? The numbers you were looking at just that came out recently within the last hour or so. Is that affecting the US dollar, Canadian dollar? Canadian dollar is still strong. Notice the type of environment you're in. You're seeing crude coming off. Dollar is pretty strong, relatively speaking, to everything. And Canadian dollar is holding up, right? So DXY holds this resistance. That's when we're interested in getting long the Canadian dollar. All right, this is how you plan things out. This is how you prepare. Yeah, they have FX Choice has a really good reputation uh, for over a decade now, and you go on the internet, they have really good reviews, and I I'm kind of like something's involved in the U.S. like Coinbase or Facebook or Google, then I'm concerned. So someone is in a jurisdiction that seems to be more freedom orientated and privacy oriented, then I feel more comfortable. Alanda is a phenomenal broker. Alanda is a phenomenal broker, one of the best of the best. Good move. Taking those profits on the euro Japanese yen. That worked out well. Coming into the strong resistance over here. Question, obviously, that's on my mind today is what happens with this. DJ, I believe I, I'm not certain here. I believe they offer deposits through Bitcoin and and Ethereum, but I'm not sure if they allow you to trade with Bitcoin as the base account or not. I believe they don't. Um, if they do, that's an excellent option. Simple FX also is another broker. They have higher spreads than FX Choice that you could deposit Bitcoin and trade a Bitcoin account. Simple FX. This is a pretty good look at Bitcoin. This is looking at the since inception and looking at the weekly chart. These, you don't have the cycles printed in here, but it's the 4-year cycles that causes this type of booms and busts. I think that the booms obviously are what attract new people into Bitcoin, and then it's during these busts that Bitcoin's infrastructure is really built out, and they occur over and over again. And you could just get a good look here at what's going on. And this is a really seems to be a really good time to be buying Bitcoin. And I think you have the next 5 months. Anytime in the next 5, 6, 7 months is probably a really good time to be accumulating Bitcoin, right? That's why these are called the accumulation and reaccumulation phases. This is when you're looking to start buying and then buying more Bitcoin. What's up, Matty H? You actually came up as a topic earlier in the live stream. Glad you made your appearance. We were wondering when you might stop back in. Everyone was saying how much they enjoy the golden stories you share. No, Pep, I don't do that. Unless you are how funny, right, Matty H, Peppa Kid? That if you're buying if you're trading Bitcoin on leverage, you better really know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to lose your money. Yep. Me too, Mima. This has been probably one of our best sessions. I really enjoyed it. And I definitely think it's time to wrap it up. So I'm going to try and put together a clip of some of some of the highlight from today, because especially our conversation about the US dollar and whether or not it's a safe haven currency in this type of conflict, and the reasons why that is changing. And at the same time, we'll keep an eye on what happens here with the Euro US dollar. It's not breaking that support, right? And it's kind of just trading no man's land, definitely giving it some room to roam. I'll update everyone through the Telegram if I wind up taking profits on this trade. But right now I'm holding it open and seeing what develops further. So again, thanks for an awesome day. Truly appreciate it. Hope to see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.